Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by SBK, with your usual team of Daryl Carter, Andrew Mount and myself to guide you through what is yet another cracking weekend of racing. We had the Ladbroke Trophy as well as the Fighting Fifth hurdle, of course. So plenty for us to get our teeth stuck into, lots of competitive handicaps, as I say, as well as graded action as well. So hugely exciting. Now, we're just going to touch on the ground very briefly before we really kick into the races itself, because of course we have lots of very unknown variables and the forecast has changed in comparison to earlier on in the week. So it is making conditions pretty tricky to assess. So the forecast at Newbury has actually flip-flopped, as I say, from earlier this week. There's now only a couple of millimetres of rain forecast on Friday. So we may have to see what happens on Friday to know exactly where we are with Newbury properly. But it's unlikely to be too soft, really, from what, as I say, looked previously as though we were going to have a fair amount of rainfall, but it's not going to look too testing. And it's slightly softer, ever so slightly on the hurdle track in comparison to the chase. But as I say, that's not really that much difference between the two of them. And at Newcastle, which, of course, is the other scheduled meeting we're going to be talking about, it's currently good to soft in places. They are watering a fair bit. They have 5.3 millimetres predicted at Newcastle throughout Friday. So I'd expect good to soft to ground at Newcastle on Saturday, but no worse, really. We'll see what the lads sort of make of that and how they're going to see conditions going at Newbury and Newcastle, as well as our scheduled races that we're going to cover. But of course, the lads are going to take us anywhere else they want to across the weekend with any other bets. So we're going to start, though, with the 1:15 at Newbury. This is a Sir Peter O'Sullivan Memorial Handicap Chase. This is an intriguing, wide-open 0 to 145 handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles 6. We know plenty about all of these 13 declared runners, really. And just for good measure, we have a Henry de Bromhead runner being chucked in here as well. But Andrew, to start with you, who do you side with in this opening contest, please?
Yeah, tricky one. There were two on the radar here. I say at least we've got some runners, and we've got each way betting 3 or maybe even 4 places for a change. And the two I were looking at, the first one is Ofalltheginjoints, who I gave a favourable mention to before he ran in the Batch of Beers at Wincanton last time out. Ran well for a long way that day until finishing 7th. I thought, you look at his wins, they've come on giant 2-mile ovals, Exeter and Chepstow. So I thought maybe this more galloping track would suit him. So I'll take a chance with him. I think he's around about 9 to 1. And the other interesting one, first time after a wind-up, is Court Master for the Michael Scudamore yard. Now, he was only a 7 to 1 chance last time out when pulled up at Chepstow on his comeback. And you look at his previous runs after wind operations. Last year, he'd had a wind up over the summer, came back and won first time out. The season before, he had a wind up over the summer and he came out and he won first time out. So it's slightly strange they didn't give him the wind up until that 9th of October reappearance effort. I assume, they say they've obviously done so since. So don't be surprised to see him make it, 3 straight wins after wind operations, and he's 25 to 1. So not a race I was particularly confident in, but those were the two that I thought might outrun their odds.
Yeah, definitely. So say Court Master is fascinating on that first start after a wind operation there, and around 18 to 1. When we finally have 3 places on offer, it feels like we've had a while since we've even had that in general. So this is quite a good opening to see. He looks really interesting. And of course, Ofalltheginjoints for the rejuvenated Colin Tizard yard as well. So Daryl, back to you, please, for this wide open race.
Yeah, I tend to struggle with this race every single year, but I was trying to look for reasons why a horse was going to improve, because we know so much about a lot of these runners. And I came down on Espoir de Teillee. You'll probably be able to tell us a bit more about this horse from the Tom George yard, but I looked the angle of the step up and trip for him here. He's by Martin Line, who's produced so many strong staying chases. For me, he jumps so well. That's not the reason he's been getting beaten, and I just think he lacks the pace over the 2.5 mile trip. So I thought going up to 3 miles would be very interesting. He's relatively unexposed for a 9-year-old. I mean, he's won 3 of his 7 chase starts. He's only had 15 career starts. And I thought unlocking a bit of improvement might come with the trip. He did beat Kaluki, who's much shorter in the betting than him today. Here last year, he's got a bit of a race fitness edge on that one. Although I do feel like Kaluki has probably got a bit more to come. But the jumping with that one just put me off slightly.
Yeah.
So he's won at Newbury, and I was just looking at the angle of the step up trip. I liked the run last time, went third behind Paint the Dream at Exeter. I thought it was quite an eye-catching run. He just got outpaced at a crucial stage and then stayed on again. So yeah, I thought it was well worth going up to 3 miles with Espoir de Teillee. Any thoughts?
Oh, no, I totally agree. And as you say, I mean, he is just the most fantastic jumper. He really is. He's always been that way. He's this gorgeous moving horse at home. You know, you couldn't ask to ride a better horse out at home in terms of his movement. Hence why he's got that athleticism that translates then over fences and why he is so good. And I do agree. I'm fascinated to see him over this trip as well, because I mean, he's a really good workhorse. You know, he wouldn't lack a turn of foot when he's working. But the way he's been shaping in his races, and he has that cruising speed more so than anything else. So I totally agree that step up in trip, I think we'll see him to better effect, and he really should come on from that latest start as well. So yes, I will definitely condone that vote of confidence there for Espoir de Teillee as well in the 115 at Newbury for Daryl there. So we'll move on to the 150, the next race on Newbury's card, and the task is made no easier for the lads in this next race. It's a 0 to 150 handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 4.5 furlongs, where again we have 11 runners who we know plenty enough about. So Daryl, who do you like in this race?
I'm going to back 2 in this, but when I started doing this race, I did it with no prices, and I was trying to find reasons to take on Chittabello at the head of the market. And the prices have come out, and Chittabello's a 9 to 1 chance. Now, yes, he's a 10-year-old, but he's completely unexposed over this sort of trip. He should have beaten Somerville Boy last year, as we touched on a couple of weeks ago, at Aintree. And his previous try over this trip before that, you know, then you're going back to 2018, was a third in the Grade 1 behind Super Sunday and Bouvedere. And the handicap has dropped him £7 on the back of his latest effort when he was beaten just 3 lengths in the international hurdle over 2 miles. That's some good, solid form, that international hurdle. He's got a good record fresh. He comes here off the back of a 350-day layoff. 3 of his 4 wins have come off the back of a layoff, and multiple placed efforts. I mean, considering the company he's been keeping him, you can forgive him the placed efforts, that's for sure. Yeah. He's only £1 higher than we're winning the county hurdle in 2019. And I just think this slightly better ground suits him.
Daryl, why hasn't he had a wind operation?
I don't know. He could be, you know, he could be being dropped in the handicap for something else, couldn't he? And then we might see him have a wind operation and go on better.
I thought they'll give him a wind operation prior to another go at the county hurdle next year when he's rated about 137 or something like that. So
yeah. It could well be, but he's just too big of a price at 9 to 1 just to try and second guess Dan Skelton about what his plans are with Chittabello. I can see him running really well here. Like you say, whether or not he's being looked at for something else, I don't know. But I'd be kicking myself if I let him go off at 9 to 1 and he went and hacked up, dropping back into a handicap like this. The other one is Annsam. That is probably one of the reasons why I am having a cover bet in it. It was Annsam. I thought Annsam ran really well. I put him up last time for his return run at Kempton. He travelled into the race really strongly, looked all over Calva, the winner, and then just sort of blew up coming to the second last hurdle. Now, he was getting £7 off Calva that day under Adam Wedge. Isabel Williams takes over today. He's getting £22 off him today. Isabel's taking 5 off. And I can't believe he's a 14 to 1 chance, and Calva is a 13 to 2 shot. He's going to improve off the back of that seasonal reappearance. Yes, he might want softer ground, but he's definitely well handicapped off a mark of 129. He's only a 6-year-old. He's improving all the time. I could see him running a massive race here off a mark of 129, really favoured by the weights against a lot of horses that I feel are handicapped up to their best. The Cow's articles at the top of the market. I don't understand why this horse keeps getting put in at the top of markets in races like this. I don't see. I mean, this horse could have to considerably improve from what it's done last season to defy a mark of 125. I just don't see it myself. I thought there were better handicapped horses down the field, Annsam being one of them. He's a 14 to 1 shot. It's surely got to go close, given how much better off at the weights he is with Calva, who's third favourite.
Yeah, and Issei wasn't beaten that far behind him whatsoever last time out as well. And with Evan Williams and Isabel Williams combining last weekend to such good effect, then
that race at Kempton as well. Every winner that day made all of the running.
Yeah,
it was very hard to come from off the pace, and he was held up at the rear of the field. I think he's got a big chance. But Chitabello and Annsam, I'm going to back the pair of them. That they're both forgivable prices, really.
Yeah, as you say, certainly so, because the market opened up quite late, it felt like, for this race when I was looking at it earlier on. I had no idea who was. I thought Lekale's article was going to be pretty prominent, but I thought Chitabello would be shorter than that. So Chitabello and Annsam then for Daryl in this race. Andrew, back to you, please.
Yeah, I think Chitabello will probably go for about 16-1 and won't try a yard here, and we won't see anything of him until he's punted for a handicap on the back of a wind operation later in the season. Probably.
They've already got the winner of the county hurdle anyway in the bag.
Yeah, with Westcourt.
Yeah, they've already got the winner, so why would they bother with him?
Well, is it trained by Dan Skelton? So, and the one I like here is Calva, who I know he won from the front at Kempton last time, but to be honest, Kempton, generally speaking, you want to be challenging a little bit wider, and he was always towards the inside, and I thought he won with plenty in hand. It's got an incredible. Basically, he's run 2 shockers since he's come over from France. Both of them when he stayed overnight at Kelso and Ayr, and Paul Nichols said that he just didn't cope with staying away from his yard overnight and the travelling. Now you look at his other British hurdle runs below Class 1 level. It's an incredible record, 7 out of 7. And, he keeps winning. And I thought, well, 13-2, 6-1, about a horse with that profile who's never lost under these conditions.
It's got to happen sooner or later.
But he's not, you'd expect 6-4, 7-4 sometimes about horses with this profile. He just seemed like, way overpriced to me. And I thought he should be favourite. So I'm very, very keen on Calva. I don't think Chitabello will be cited. Much as I love him.
That's right, because it doesn't matter, because Annsam's going to beat him out of sight anyway. not a chance Calva is winning off 1-4-6. I know he won off 1-4-4 last time, but he dictated everything. Not a chance. This is a better race. No chance he's winning off 1-4-6. He'd have to be a 150 horse.
Well, there's not a lot of difference between 1-4-6 and 150, Daryl.
There is in terms of the class of the horse. He's been cherry-picked this race.
To use your terminology, it's a few bags of sugar.
Playing it back in his own game. Shots fired across the way there by both lads. I was just going to let them get on with it and see who came out on top, and I still have no idea who's coming out on top. We'll let the race decide.
It's the Skelton's putting the handbrake on Chitabello.
I've got Annsam. I've covered in the race. It's fine.
Exactly. It's coming from both angles. Handicap plot or ridden them from off the pace at a more suitable track for Newbury. We'll let the results speak the volumes of who wins this argument. And I can't wait for this race already. This has added extra intrigue for me there in the 150 at Newbury. Anyway, I'm not going to have an opinion because I'm just going to side with whoever comes out on top. Probably Lekale's article now that they're both trying to take him on. So instead, we're going to leave that race as it is. We're going to move on to the 225 at Newbury. This is for Jerry Fielden, as it's known as the listed intermediate hurdle, a limited handicap. 0 to 155 handicap, of which over 2 miles. So lots of things going on there in that in the explanation for the race, but we've only got 4 runners. So yes, this is always a fascinating contest year on year. And I mean, maybe some of you were like me out there and thought that Montmoral was going to go for this race. Soon realised he actually doesn't qualify because of that pesky 3-year-old hurdle win in France, which doesn't make him as a juvenile in his juvenile campaign a novice, which means he's then not qualified in the second season in Britain as an intermediate hurdler. So annoying. Found that out a bit late. So he's going to go for the fighting 5th then instead, as it stands at present. So that leaves us with 4 runners here with all of these specifics for this race that you really need to have on side. And of course, this race won in previous years by Epatante and Rock on Ruby, no less. Both went on to win champion hurdles that season as well. So we may have a live champion hurdle contender in this race. But as I say, we only have the 4 runners, whereas Rock on Ruby and Epatante had 10 and 11 rivals to contend with themselves. So Andrew, do we have a live champion hurdle contender in here?
Probably not, but it's still a very, very good race. Soaring Glory impressed on his comeback at Ascot. I mean, the concern with him is that it's big field, strong pace form, and will he get the race run to suit here in a full runner contest? Would it surprise me if he won? No. Do I want to back him at 11 to 10? Not really. The one I wanted to take on was Gal Road, who I thought was flattered by being on the front end at Cheltenham last time. There was no pace in that race. I mean, I've put up Unexpected Party as a bet that day in my column. Third one up for a Tracey, and jockey change Bridget Andrews, and rather than race prominently as he had done when impressing at Wetherby, so I'm still sour about this. She's given him a hold-up ride, and never got a blow in at Gal Road. As I say, I thought was flattered. Might not get his own way this time, Gal Road, with One More for the Road in opposition. He made all at Huntingdon last time. He does tend to go out to his right, One More for the Road, but he has won left-handed on a couple of occasions, and I couldn't put you off that one if the ground is genuinely good. But I keep coming back to Captain Morgs, who I wrote up last season after he ran a cracker at Fakenham, where he raced in the swamp throughout, where you couldn't be anywhere near the inside rail. And I think I napped him at Sandown next time, and he's got bogged down with the soft ground. But since it's decent ground, coming back, since he's come back to 2 miles, so I think Daryl put him up as a bet when he won at Ascot the other day. And I couldn't quite understand why Captain Morgs was a 9-2 outsider of 4 with some bookies. On speed figures, race form have got Soaring Glory and Captain Morgs joint top on last time out figures on 112. So those were the two I was concentrating on, and at the prices, it's a no-brainer, Captain Morgs.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and James Bowen taking the ride as well, because as we know from this morning, Nico de Boinville got hurt in a fall riding out as well. So James Bowen now taking the ride on Captain Morgs. So Daryl, did you side with him last time out, and are you staying loyal with him as well?
Yeah, I did side with him. I tipped him last time at Ascot. No, I'm not going to stay loyal to it. Turned out 8 days later, I thought was interesting. But we got lucky last time at Ascot when Gary Clermont jumped right out to the left at the last hurdle, and we just kept straight and true and just picked up. I don't know. I've always thought that he was a 2.5 miler. And that was my concern when I put him up at Ascot, that they might not go hard enough for him. They did go hard enough for him that day. This, I think, might turn a little bit tactical. That's what concerns me about Soaring Glory. I think Soaring Glory is miles better than all of these. But whether he's going to get the race run to suit or not is, it's open for debate. I thought Soaring Glory I could see 7-4 best odds. I thought he should have been more of an even money chance. So that sets alarm bells ringing a little bit for me, that he's such a big price.
No,
really.
he's 11 to 10 best, Daryl.
Is he? That's mine not updated.
I think the 7-4 was when there was at the 5-day stage when there was several more declared. And
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, every firm 11 to 10 from what I'm looking at.
Okay, well that's more like it. That's what he should be really. So the one I was considering taking him on with was One More for the Road. I loved the way he quickened away last time at Huntingdon. He's slightly better right-handed, but he might just set what he's done a couple of times. He set some slow fractions on the front end, and he's got a lovely turn of foot to quicken away. I'm wondering if he might just be able to get his own way out in front here and do that. That would just concern backers of Soaring Glory, given he likes to be held up. It would concern me for backers of Captain Morgs, because I don't think he's got quite the turn of foot that he's going to need. And this might expose him a little bit to say that he needs 2.5 miles. And Gower Road is pretty solid, but look, Andrew, I thought the one to take out of the race at Cheltenham last time was definitely Unexpected Party. So he just might not have too much more to come off this mark 141. Look, Soaring Glory is the best horse in the race. If everything goes to plan, he ticks a lot of boxes. He should be winning. But if you want an interest in the race, have a bet on One More for the Road and hope he can dictate on the front end.
Yes, as you say, fascinating how this is going to work out tactically. So with so few runners in this race, so both of the lads looking at that as well, and exactly how, I say, tactically this race is really going to play out. But a favourable mention for Soaring Glory from Daryl at that price. But also, as you say, if you wanted more of a betting interest, then One More for the Road at around 9-2 does look very interesting as well. But really, really trappy and tricky contest that. So we'll move on to a much easier race to solve in the 3 o'clock at Newbury, the Ladbroke Trophy. So far more easier task to be set for you lads here. Anyway, one of the biggest, most competitive handicap chases of the entire season. So this is obviously a Grade 3 very handicapped for 4-year-olds and over 3 mile too. And this year hasn't let us down with its usual, well, even probably more so high class lineup. I think this year, 21 declared runners. Irish Raiders, last year's winner. Horse is hoping to re-find their classy form that they've shown previously in their career. Some coming back for new yards. So plenty to keep us occupied. Now, lads, I'm going to be very fair to the pair of you here. I'm going to give you 2 selections each if you would like to use that here, mainly because I've got 2 selections myself. So
do you want to go first?
Be the only one to be siding with 2 in this. I'm more than willing to give you 2 each. So I will go back to you, Daryl, to start with you, please, for this year's Ladbroke Trophy.
Well, I've got 4. So.
I see your 2. I raise you 4.
yeah. Obviously, a cracking race, isn't it? On the ropes, very interesting at the top of the market. Very good second to Monkfish, couple of starts back, who subsequently won the RSA. I've got a slight concern about on the ropes. Now, he's been kept predominantly right-handed, and I thought that was quite interesting. So I went back to watch his bumper run from 2019 at Wexford, which is a left-handed track, and you could really see there, just by watching him race, you could really see how predominant he is on his right side. Even going around the left-handed bend, he was using his right lead, and that slightly concerned me. So then I went and watched his only chase run, which came at Navan left-handed, and he pulled up there, but he was held up at the rear of the field, and he was just jumping out to the right. And the more tired he got, he was jumping out to the right. Now, he could be a completely different horse. He's obviously improved since then, but he hasn't been left-handed since then. So that is going to be a slight concern to be backing him in a Ladbroke at 4-1 at the top of the market. So I just would tread with caution with him. I like Eklat de Rire. I think he's been written off a little bit in terms of the ground. I know he's 92 second favourite, but there's a lot of talk about he needs heavy ground, he needs soft ground. I don't think that's the case. I thought he was going well enough in the I keep saying the RSA and the Festival Novices Chase.
Who knows what it's called now?
Yeah, who knows? But he was going well until unseating there. That was good to soft ground. So he's not really got a pronounced knee action either. It's quite low. So I don't actually think the ground is an issue. I think he's probably just a classier horse than those that have been in behind him. He's very interesting for me. I think he could be a 160 plus horse quite easily. He's one of the horses in here that could have 10 pounds in hand. So I'm going to back Eclair de Rire, and I'm going to give it 3. I'm going to back 2 others. Okay, they're the 2 that finished 1-2 at Listowel in the Kerry National, and that's Brahma Bull, who's top weight.
Ooh, yeah.
Brahma, top weights have actually not done too bad in this race if you go back and look for it. Vindication was travelling really well before unseating at 5 out. He's off 162. Elegant Escape was third off 160, second off 155. Houblon de Zobo was second off 157. Bob's Worth won up 160. So you can make a case for top weights in here. But I thought Brahma Bull was very interesting. He gave a stone to Assemble when he was beaten 2 lengths on his. That was at Listowel. That was at Listowel. Assemble's rated 155. So that's a good little piece of form there, in good weight carrying performance. He was given a very, very easy time on his only other start, left-handed, when behind Manila Indo. Now, he was just traveling, he was just cantering around. He really didn't get asked any sort of questions. He's a 10-year-old, but he's very, very unexposed. His latest one, he chased down Galvin. But Galvin, as they swung round the bend, Galvin hemmed him in. And he was forced behind Annamix, and he just didn't quite get a clear run at things. Interesting that Brian Hayes is on this one for Willie Mullins. I think he's going to go close, but his form ties in too closely with Annamix to knock back Annamix as well. I know I'm going on and on. Annamix again stuck on well behind Galvin last time. Jack Foley comes over, claims £5 for back, effectively run on 149. I can't believe these 2 Irish runners who have been competing at the top of the game over in Ireland are 25 and 33 to 1 or whatever you can get. Willie Mullins runners, Richie colours. How often are you going to see 2 horses in the same race at 25 and 33 to 1? Annamix is going to be ridden promptly, so he'll just keep going. If he's good enough, he's good enough. They thought a lot of him as a youngster. He could come good now. I think he's improving with every run. But I'm going to back the 2 of them because I don't like the English runners. I really don't.
We're just going to clip out that first part of that sentence.
I thought that was a political statement then.
Yeah,
I
was hoping the last word of that sentence was going to come.
I just don't think the English runners are up to much. I thought Fiddler on the Roof was probably the best of them. I thought the rest of them, like the Potterman, I thought Copperhead, God, I couldn't have Copperhead. I thought a lot of them were just a much for muchness. Remastered is probably a little bit interesting, but I think he's slow. I think if you go back and watch his National Hunt run, National Hunt Chase run, Galvin, Next Destination, everyone, they just cleared past him so easily. Maybe he didn't stay that trip, I don't know, but I don't like the English runners for this at all. Cue a 1, 2, 3, 4 for the English.
We finally get it back then, just because Daryl's put the mockers on us. Keep doing that then until Cheltenham, please, in March, and then we'll be happy. Yeah, I hugely like that angle, though, say about the Irish Raiders coming over. And when you're getting 25 to 1 and 33 to 1, about two Richie, Willie Mullins horses in a race of this nature, battle hardened. My biggest concern about Brahma Bull, he loves belting fences, considering, I mean, what, is he only unseated once in his career? He probably should have done that more so, but he still manages to run his race despite hitting fences, which is quite something. But yeah, so Annamix, Brahma Bull, and also, as you say, a really positive mention for Eklat, Rire, who could be anything still at this stage. Then for Daryl. Andrew, yourself, please.
Yeah, of those at the head of the market, very similar to Daryl. I was worried about On the Ropes. He's only won twice from his 9 career starts. As Daryl said, he ran a shocker the only time he went left-handed over fences. And bear in mind, he's 4 to 1. When Denman ran in this, he was 5 to 1 for the first time. And on his latest start, he'd won the RSA Chase by 10 lengths. And you were getting 5 to 1. Now you're getting 4 to 1 about a horse who's won, a sort of a much lesser race last time out. Now, stat-wise, 9 of the last 10 winners were having their second start of the campaign. And it's, if you go back even further than that, very rare for a horse to win this first time out. The last one to do so was Bobsworth, and again he'd won the RSA on his previous start, and he went on to win the Gold Cup later the same season. So having had one run is a big advantage. Those who've had 2 or more runs already this season, that's a big statistical negative as well. So look for those horses that have run, well, say top 6 or thereabouts on their seasonal reappearance. Now, Eklat de Rire, he's the one I prefer of the 4 at the head of the market. I didn't like Enrillo. I think I'm still bitter that he was chucked out after winning the 365 Gold Cup last year.
I'm still bitter about poor old Kitty's Light, so don't worry. We're all still bitter.
but he's a quirky old so-and-so. And again, 5 to 1, that's what price Denman was on the back of a 10-length RSA Demolition. Do you want to back Enrillo on the back of that, that latest run at the same price? Fiddler on the Roof, is he best right-handed? Since he's come to Colin Tizard, he's had 6 goes right-handed, 4 wins and 2 seconds. Left-handed, 0 from 7. Now, he's placed on occasions left-handed, but again, you're being asked to take 5 to 1. You're thinking, well, he ain't Denman, and that's the same price that he was. So Kitty's Light, I did quite like, despite the fact he's had a couple of runs because of that Chepstow win. Again, that Chepstow run. Chepstow over fences, front runners benefit. Very, very difficult to come from off the pace. He really impressed me by finishing second by a head on this comeback behind Chirico Vallis. And next time out, he's chased home Fusel Raffles. Okay, he would have been a lot further behind back in 3rd had Chamblou stood up in all likelihood. But it was still a good performance. He could go well. He's certainly young and on the up. But like Daryl said, some of these sort of mid-price 12, 14, 16 to 1 British, not necessarily English runners. Let's bring in the Scots and the Welsh when our horses are crap.
Yeah, let's insult all them as well. Insult everyone.
Andy Murray, he's not Scottish when he's winning, he's British. But,
Yeah.
Okay, Cloth Cap won last year, but he was in first-time cheap pieces, was allowed a soft lead, and there were no Irish runners. And this time there's a lot of competition for the play. You look at the first 10 home in the Ladbrokes Trophy last season, only one of them has won since, and that was Cloth Cap and the Mickey Mouse race at Kelso. You have to go back to Secret Investor, last of 11, who lost the shoe and pulled up that day on ground too soft for him. He's the only one who's done anything decent since. The Machine needs it softer. I mean, Copperhead's still a stone higher than his last handicap race, despite having form figures of like 1918 PPF fells, since then. Yeah, and again, it's just they're a big pile of pants, really, aren't they? I mean, Canelo was one on this card before and might plod on into a place. Danny Whizbang was only 12 to 1 for the race last year when trained by Nichols. First time headgear, first run for Milton Harris. Not impossible he could run some sort of race. But I mean, of the British, the one I like is Fullback. running that same Kitty Light race at Chepstow. Again, seasonal debut, tried to come from off the pace, but again, he probably needs it softer. And I thought 40, 50 to 1, I could take a chance. And you look now, he's like 25 to 28. So, yeah, it's a crap race.
I had the same thoughts there about Cloudy Glen. I really like Cloudy Glen as a horse. I think he's got a big pot in it.
He needs it deep, doesn't he? I mean, if it was soft or heavy, he'd have a great chance of getting in the first sort of 4 or 5. I mean, some bookmakers are going to 7 places, which is a bit mad. So I wouldn't put your full back each way at sort of 28s, 33s if you do want a stab each way in the dark. But of those that are ahead of the betting, Eklat, Rire. I'll put up full back as my selection, but it's not really a race I want to get massively involved in, to be honest.
Yeah, wow, some strong words there from Andrew, certainly. So I think we've insulted most nations, apart from the Irish, which is probably about right, really, of recent seasons. But fullback there, you say, was 40 to 1, has been trimmed into 28 to 1 now. But if you're still getting around 7 places or whatever bookies are offering at the minute, then 28 to 1 is still a decent price. But all of us agree that Eklat de Rire could well be anything, and he could be the much needed, I think, class angle in this race on recent runnings. We haven't really seen a horse that we're expecting to go on to be a genuine grade 1 performer, and I think I agree that that's what Eklat de Rire probably represents. But for myself, I have sided with those mid-range each way horses there in a race where I was really sort of struggling as such, where there were 2 I liked when I was going back through the trends of this race. And so obviously on the last 5 years, you really do want a horse that's ridden prominently in this race. They could always go a million, but they just seem to keep going, and especially when the ground is going to be on this slightly better side as well. So I wanted a horse that would hold its position, would continue to jump well. And as I say, those ridden prominently have been seen to best effect in 4 of the last 5 years of this race. So I narrowed it down initially to a long short list of 9, but I've now honed in on it and I've narrowed it down to 2, the Remastered. So I'm happy that Daryl gave him a favourable mention there, and Potterman, but I'm concerned about his running style in this race. So for that reason, slight preference is just going to be with Remastered, because he's more likely to be ridden forwards than Potterman. Both of these 2, the ideal profile for this race in recent runnings, both 8. They're in that sweet spot of being rated between 146 and 150, carrying nice weights of under 11 stone. Potterman's 11.2 now, apologies, around the 11 stone marker as well then. And as Andrew was saying, the big stat for me was horses having their second start of this season and they have won all of the last 5 runnings of this race, having their second start of the season. So ideally you want a horse that's either won or placed on that reappearance start, which both of these horses did. And as I say, my slight preference for Remastered, he's likely to be ridden forwards. That's really his only way of being ridden. And it looks as though he's been targeted for this race. He's had the reappearance start over hurdles, qualified for the Potence final, actually, after finishing 3rd behind Koshari by just over 1 length at Aintree. So, which should team up nicely for this race, provided my biggest concern for him is the ground. The ground cutting up enough, hopefully, from the Friday to the Saturday. He really does want softer conditions. If he doesn't get his ground, then I've got a saver on Potterman, who wants better ground, but he might be ridden too far back, which is my biggest concern for him. But they're my 2. Huge respect for Eklat de Rire towards the head of the market. So we'll move on to the 335 swiftly on, because we've given about 20 horses in the Elaborate Trophy. So nicely helped you all through that race anyway. Right, the final race then on Newbury's card, our final scheduled race as well from Newbury. And we sign off with a 0 to 150 handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles. And again, it is wide open. Newbury have really set us some easy tasks on Saturday, haven't they? So Andrew, solve this one as well, please.
Yeah, I like this race. There's 2 horses that stand out to me. One of them is my horse to follow for the National Hunt season, which is Sal for Rebecca Menzies, who came here last year and absolutely bolted up over course and distance on soft ground. Now, he belied expectations first time out, finishing second at Aintree on goodish ground. I think he really needs it, ideally proper soft or heavy, real deep, sort of northern type ground. And whether it's going to be too quick for him again, probably will. But at double figure price, I'll probably have to have something on. But I really think he is a very good horse when he gets his conditions, and could surprise a few people this year, perhaps making up into a graded performer. Now, the other one is Elusive Bell, who It's been struggled a lot on soft ground since joining Nikki Henderson. But you look at her 5 runs on officially good to soft or quicker going for her current yard, 3 wins. This card a couple of years ago, the Joe Fielder behind Epatante, when Epatante was rated 137. So that was obviously a good effort. And in fact, the 2 that beat her that day were both stablemates. And the other one, she was down the field in the Grade 2 Dawn run at Cheltenham a couple of years ago. So basically, when she's had good to soft or quicker going and class 2 or lower, I think she's now 3 from 3. So at 9 to 1, thereabouts, Elusive Bell I thought would go well. And Sal, horse to sort of put in your trackers for the remainder of the season, but might want proper soft or heavy going.
Really interesting there. So you say around 11 to 1 there for Sal, but just keep an eye on the ground really then for Saturday at Newbury, that he might want it deeper, but also with Elusive Bell there around 9 to 1 as well. So 2 nice prices in our concluding Newbury contest. Daryl, yourself, please.
I don't know who wins this. I don't really like the race. I couldn't really find an angle into it. I thought they were all weighted to near enough their best. Perhaps Sully Doc AA, give him another chance after Ascot.
Can't give him another chance. I just can't do it.
It's interesting that Anthony Honeyball's got John Joe O'Neill Jr. on. That's an interesting. Is that the first time he's rode for him?
Oh, as you say, anything else, JP?
Yeah,
I'd say it's normally Aidan or Richie on him, isn't it? So I'm not sure. I have to look into that, but I can't give him another chance. I have last time I forgave him for his reappearance at Ascot. I thought fair enough, he sort of hit a flat spot, stayed on. Last time out, I just thought you were close, but you had every chance. Can't do it again, Daryl. But otherwise, really nice mention there for that horse anyway. But such a tricky race to sign us off with. So Daryl, I'll go back to you from anything else for Newbury, please. Any of the other races?
Yes. This 12:40 Newbury.
Wonderful.
Oh, I love this horse. Love him. Mr. Incredible for Henry de Bromhead. I'll put this horse up. Anti-post for the National Hunt Chase. Now, I hope he's not going to be too good and go for the RSA. I hope he's going to go for the National Hunt Chase.
Just be a slogger, please.
Oh my God! If you haven't seen it, go back and watch this race at Naas last time. It's an absolute carnage. It was carnage. But it came from the rear of the field when it paid to be on the pace, slowly run race. He was faster from like 5 out to the finish. Oh no, he was not much slower from 5 out to the finish than Captain Guinness was. He had run over 3 furlongs further and carried 11 pounds more. That was his chase debut. He's got some nice form in behind Gaillard de Mesnil. There's not a chance any of these lot beat him. No way, I'm not having it. It's a hoist in your. I don't believe this horse in your form for 1 minute. Not for 1 minute, but the last time I said that about a horse, they won. But Mr. Incredible is going to be incredible on Saturday.
Yeah.
He's a napper. He has to nap.
No, we've already covered it. We've already done it.
No, he's too short to be. He's too short to be the nap. I'll give you something at a double figure price. But
he's too short to be a nap. We won't go into that from me last weekend. But yeah, Mr. Incredible, after he had a Mrs. Incredible on his back last time out of Rachel Blackmore, say so worth going back and watching that race. It really was quite something how Rachel Blackmore managed to get him up, and she's booked to ride him again. So awesome to see there. Mr. Incredible in the 12:40 at Newbury. Confident, I think, is probably the understatement there from Daryl for that race. Andrew, yourself, please, for anything else from Newbury.
No, not for me.
It's boring, Andrew.
I can live with that title. Steve Davis.
Grand, right. So nothing else then from Newbury, from the lads there. So we will move on to Newcastle then, and we're going to start with the 130, I believe, which is a 0 to 135 novices limited handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 7. We again only have the 4 runners here, so it does make sense that Valeres is a short price favourite at the head of a market. But Andrew, back to you. Do you take him on in this race?
Probably, given his overall profile and the fact that he, his only win from his last sort of 5 or 6 starts came when 9 to 4 on. He's going to be short enough, isn't he? I mean, Tupelo, Mississippi. That's been another one who's been expensive to follow. Maybe the cheap pieces will help him. Winds of Fire, not without hope. Cooper's Cross, handbrake off last time. Won accordingly. He's kind of waiting until the last minute to find out which way that one goes in the betting, really. So it's a horrible little race. I'd stick all 4 in the place part and hope for the best.
Oh, right. Nicely done. Except we're back to the place pot banditry then again. So yes, but I say really tricky race with just the 4 of these in it, and Valera's at a short price. Daryl, can you make any further inroads in this race?
Not really. I don't know if Valera is really. I know he's a 3 mile point to point winner, but this is a step up to 3 miles today. He's never really convinced me over 2 mile 5 that he wants an extra couple of furlongs. So I don't know. This is probably not going to be as easy as the market's making it out. Cooper's Cross won with a good bit of an hand at Sedgefield, I thought, when beating Baron de Middleton, who I bloody tipped and backed that day. Every time I've watched it back 3 times today, that race, and I'm still going, what? Just hold on. He just stopped. But Cooper's Cross definitely wants to go up a trip, I think. He did his best work late there, so I think he's going to be well handicapped, 116. Winds of Fire is interesting. Some nice hurdle form for Winds of Fire. Kind of like Proshima. 120 is not beyond this horse. I couldn't really have Tupelo, Mississippi. But I thought it was more competitive than the market suggests with Valera's odds on. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really want to get involved, to be honest. So
there we go.
I'll give you Cooper's Cross to cause an upset, maybe, if they decide they want to win with him.
Yeah, like I say, who knows? Who really knows? As you say, if they're going to want to win this race with him and overturn Valera's off that mark of 116 for him. But yeah, probably a race just as a watching brief. But there's a few interests if you really did want to get involved with that race anyway. Tricky opener at Newcastle. So we'll move on to the 205. This is the listed rehearsal handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 7, where the Ferry Master currently heads the market as the 4-1 favourite at the time of recording, to try and add to his course and distance win from last season, which came in a novices limited handicap chase. He remains unexposed as a staying chaser, and it's just a really likeable type. So Daryl, do you side with Sandy Thompson's runner, or do you take him on?
No, I'm going to take him on. I can see the angle for him, though. He's one of the more likeable types in the field. I really like Glen Forsa in here. I'd have preferred him to go in Newbury, though. They've come here instead. But I thought it was a really good step back in the right direction last time at Ascot. He was beaten 10 lengths, but it just blew up looking like he needed the run that day. That was his first start, Charlie Longston. First time in a tongue tie as well. So that was interesting. He was he's up to 3 miles for the first time there. I think, or for the second time, he went over hurdles over 3 miles, I think. Won by 2 lengths. Sorry, that was a chase. I'm getting confused. But anyway, he's unexposed over 3 miles. I think this is definitely his trip. Prior to that, he'd ran in the Topham chase over 2 miles 5, and in the Grand Annual over 2 miles. He's rated 147 there. He's running off 137, so £10 lower here today. £11 lower here today. Going up to 3 miles, going over 3 miles again. I definitely think that trip suits him. He ran a blinder, albeit 2 years ago at Newbury, behind Old Grangebrook and Kalashnikov. Off a mark of 150. Those 2 horses are both higher in the weights than they were that day, and he's obviously £14 lower here today. I think they persisted with him for good reason. I think he's going to go well at a big price off this mark. I thought he was one of the better handicapped horses in this race. He's a double figure price, so he's going to go close.
Definitely. And like I say, I mean, I thought he was a really interesting buy out of Mick Shannon's, wasn't he, to win a big race and to really be taking advantage of the sort of staying handicap chase as well. So Glen Forsa around 12-1 looks a nice price to be siding with for Daryl. Andrew, yourself, please.
The Ferry Master, for me, he's best after a recent outing. When he's been returned to the track within a month, 4 runs, 3 wins and a 5th when he was the 40-1 outsider of 5 in a Grade 2 novices hurdle. So I think he's got everything in his favour. He was something like 8 or 9-1 when the betting opened on Monday. I'll put him up as a bet in Racing and Football Outlook, and then shortly afterwards he'd been hammered into about 4-1 or 7-2. So Sandy Thompson's also got Dingo Dollar second in the Scottish National last year. I just wonder if he's going to be aimed for entry, and we won't perhaps see the best of him until the Grand National waits around.
Yeah, really interesting. I think I saw a photo of Sandy Thompson taking them all out hunting or something the other day with his horses, a lineup of 3 of them, to just taking him for a day out to try and sweeten him up there. And yeah, Dingo Dollar was definitely one of them. Not sure if the Ferry Master was or not, but
it always sweetens me up if someone takes me for a day out. So.
Hint, Daryl. There you go.
Yeah, fancy a trip to the zoo. You know,
we're going out on the 10. You can save yourself until then.
Exactly. That's it. Then we'll sweeten Andrew right up. But yeah, the Ferry Master probably is the most likely selection then of the Sandy Thompson runners then for Andrew in that race. So we're going to move on to the 3:15 at Newcastle, the final race of their card, and also the only grade 1 that we have on the day. It's a fighting fifth hurdle over 2 miles, which I always look forward to so much because it's the first grade 1 hurdle of the season in Britain. And we have 6 declared runners now, with Epatante bidding to defend her crown after her really impressive win in this race last year on her reappearance. She's had a back operation over the summer, which will hopefully help her jump better than she did last season, where her jumping technique just wasn't what we knew of her previously. She just looked so uncomfortable over her hurdles. So hopefully that's done the trick. And of course, she finished 3rd in both the champion hurdle behind Honeysuckle and Sharjah. And again, behind those 2 rivals, went 3rd in the Paddy Power champion hurdle at Punchestown. So she clearly did best of a British still. And I'm expecting her to do the same here. She won't mind the ground, which, of course, I have a slight concern about for Montmoral here. For all, he's won on good soft, but he is a son of Sonde Sance. He's a big, scopy horse who would probably appreciate more given the ground, and he's giving weight to Epatante. So provided she's on her A game here, she should take an awful lot of beating for me. But Andrew, do you side with her or do you take her on?
Yeah, tricky one. I mean, I'll probably take her on. I did last year when napping Silver Streak, who was was travelling like the winner when carried out of the second.
Would have gone so glad.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I love Silver Streak when he's fresh. He needs about 6 weeks off between his races. But I was really disappointed with that comeback run against So Royale at Kempton. I mean, he'd been a money spinner in that race for the 2 previous seasons, drifting like a barge both times and winning doing handsprings. So, maybe he needed a bit more than usual. He's 8-1. He's been off for 6 weeks. I'll probably have a small bet on him. But yeah, it's not a race that I was confident with punting wise.
Yes, it is tricky, isn't it? And Daryl, back to you then for this, because as you say, Epatante, if she's on her A game, she's going to take an awful lot of beating. But of course, she does have questions to have to answer here. So do you take her on as well, or how are you playing this race?
I think she wins this race. I think the back stuff is a load of rubbish, really. I do. I'm not having it. With this yard, it's so frustrating. There's always they never get beat on merit. There's always a ground issue. There's always a wind issue, or there's always a back issue, or an ear.
That's if they turn up at all.
Yeah, exactly. If they turn up at all, God, what's happening? But I know. If you go back and look at that Kempton run, right, it looks like she's jumped awkwardly. She was throwing her head around. She's a mare. She's marish all the time. I'd like to think I know this horse inside out. She's done that quite a few times. But if you really watch her last 3 runs, right, and not just watch it, if you really watch them, where is she asked to quicken and where does the pace quicken? Punchestown at Cheltenham and at Kempton. Right, we'll start at Kempton. Adam Wedge gave Silver Streak a fantastic ride. But what he did is he quickened around the bend before they got to the home straight. Aidan Coleman was asked Epatante to quicken around the bend that day and try and go and catch him. She couldn't do it. She's a horse that likes to sit there, travel into a straight, and then quicken away. She cannot quicken around a bend. If that wasn't enough evidence for her, she goes to Cheltenham in the champion hurdle this year when beaten by Honeysuckle. If you look at what Rachel did, she was fantastic at doing it all of the Cheltenham last year. She got to just as the bend was approaching and she quickened to steal a couple of lengths out the field and kept free rolling all the way down the home straight. Okay, Epatante was sitting there. Aidan Coleman see Rachel come by him to quicken up. He had to ask her to quicken at a time when the bend was approaching where she doesn't like to quicken. Therefore, she just couldn't then go and pick up Honeysuckle. It was the exact same story 3 times in a row at Punchestown. Now, at Punchestown, when she was again beaten 12 lengths by Honeysuckle, there's a bend, there's one hurdle, and then the finish line, right? They quickened as they were coming around the bend. She jumped beautifully that day as well. She was very slick at Punchestown, it must be said. But she had to quicken again around the bend. And if you watch Sharjah go past her, he was able to take that bend very, very easily, whereas she looked all over the place and then stayed on again. Now, if you go back to her champion hurdle, I tipped her for the champion hurdle when she won in 2020. I banged on about her all season to anybody that would listen to me, this is the best horse that's going to win the champion hurdle. She won by 3 lengths, but you go and watch that race, and she was able to sit and sit and sit, pop the second last, sit, and then quicken away. She wasn't forced under any pressure around any sort of bend. If you actually do the time figures on that particular run, Jar Jar actually ran a faster circuit time than Epatante did, but he was given far too much to do at the rear of the field. Now, the difference between the 2 champion hurdles is that when she's forced to quicken around a bend, she can't do it. My point being is that I think she'll win this race because Newcastle has a very nice long home straight, 3 hurdles. She can cruise round. There's not going to be quickening off the bend. She's going to sit there in behind, pop, and then kick away. That's exactly what she loves to do. But after this race, there's going to be a lot of hype for her about the champion hurdle. Right? She's going to be cut in half, the champion hurdle. My point being is if they run a similar race that they did last year, where they start quickening after the 3rd last, she's going to be in big trouble. So just be prepared for all the nonsense that's about to come your way if she goes and wins this very easily. I don't think the back was the issue. I think they've just got her beaten because she can't quicken round bends. She gets tracks like Newcastle with long home straights, and Newbury, for instance, nice long home straights where she's not asked to do that, then she's very, very good. But she won the champion hurdle in a year where the 2-mile division lacked any sort of depth whatsoever. And when you look at the time figure that Jar Jar ran, who was beaten 3 lengths in second, compared to Epatante, there was very little, if anything, between them. So I think it sets us up. But I think she'll win it.
but that is fascinating. I love that completely. As you say, off of the bend, which fortunately she's not going to have at Newcastle, but as you say, that's the thing about what we try and do here is we try and assess a race, but also throw it forwards to look then forwards down the line, and that's why, Lost in Translation on the other day, if he goes to the King George, I wouldn't want to be siding with him then, because it's throwing it forwards, and that's fascinating then with Epatante. They say even if she goes and wins here, just be prepared for, as you say, if she's going to be taking in different races that we know she's going to be taking in at different tracks to Newcastle, where they have got the bend where she might just be vulnerable off that. But otherwise, I'd say hopefully we'll win here. Hopefully it won't count against her and no one will kick at an unlikely time for her. So, but yeah, she is going to be difficult to beat on that basis in the fighting fifth, then in the 3:15 at Newcastle. But no, that was great. Anyway, so Daryl, I will throw it back to you for any of those other pearls then, for anything else at Newcastle, please.
No, I've got nothing else at Newcastle. I would just say keep an eye on the 11:30 over at Fairy House. I can't pronounce my F's for some reason lately. Fairy House. I'll keep going at Fairy House. Monkfish carefully selected, and the storyteller all won that race. It's usually a very informative race at this time of year.
Really interesting runners in there, and say early doors. Then the first race at Fairy House at 11:30 for any pointers, and that beginner's chase then for further down later in the season. So Andrew, back to you from anything else from Newcastle or anything from anywhere else as well.
No, I spent so long dissing the Hennessy field, the Ladbrokes Trophy field, that I haven't really had a chance to look yet. But obviously, have a look at my column prior to Saturday's racing. I'm sure there'll be others, particularly on the all-weather.
Yeah, exactly. And any more insults to any more nations or any other horses in the Ladbrokes Trophy, you know where to find them on the website, GG.CO.UK, for any more of those. And Daryl, you didn't have anything else from anywhere else, did you? So
no.
That's absolutely fine. So, and your nap, we're pretty confident we're taking on a Hoy Senior, aren't we, with Mr. Incredible? Is that going to be the nap?
Yeah,
wonderful.
It's either him or Glen Forsa. I think Glen Forsa is a really nice price, a double-figure price.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Glen Forsa, but make no mistake about it, I really, really, really like Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, as you say, so 2 interesting horses to go to war with there. But you're just going to go Glen Forsa for the nap for that extra bit of price then. Very interesting. And Andrew, yourself, please, your nap of the weekend.
Chinnabella. No, it's not.
What a turn up.
It's Calva Doge in the 150 at Newbury.
Nicely done. Okay, perfect. In the 150 then at Newbury, Calva Doge. And because I went with a short price nap last weekend, and it worked.
What
out,
happened
I'm
to
going
that
to do the
short
same
price
thing
nap,
again
Kate?
this weekend.
What happened to you?
Yeah, she won. Don't rub her ego any more than she needs it. She won.
I don't feel like I've quite mentioned it enough on this show just yet. 11 to 10, no problem. So I'm going to go for the same price again this week with Epatante. I wanted to side with a nap in the Elaborate Trophy, and I was like, I just can't do it. Narrow it down to just the one. So I'm going to go for Epatante in the 3:15 at Newcastle again for a proper scumbaggy short price nap yet again. But hey ho, anyway. So really punchy show this week. Really, really enjoyable. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching it as well. Thank you so much to the lads for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to our sponsors, SBK, as well. So good luck with your bets this weekend. Enjoy the action yourself, and we'll catch up with you again next week.